Hello everyone and welcome to my 2021 in the bag video. Let's get started. Alright, the first thing I want to talk about are my putting putters. I putt with prime judges. I used to putt with DLine P2s, but I just wasn't really good with them, so I wanted to switch to the judge because it feels more comfortable in my hand. So yeah, prime judge. Now on to my throwing putters. So up here in this top pocket, these are my main throwing putters. I got a Z-Flex ringer. This thing is nice and beat in. I've had it for a while. I can put it out flat and I can always count on it to hyzer. It'll hold a hyzer really well. It will not flip up unless I throw a forehand. Nowadays when I throw forehands with it, it'll flip up a little bit. So I don't really use it for forehands that much, but backhands I can always count on it. Next things are my DLine P2s. These things I've had for a long time. These used to be my putting putters, but they just don't feel good for putting, so I throw them all the time now, especially at the sinks. I go to the sinks all the time, and I use these for just hyzer flips, to turn over, and I use them for just touch and hyzer upshots. Yeah, P2s. Right. So I have three other putters that I throw all the time. This is a new addition to the bag. I had a pink link, but it got too understable, so I got a new one. This one actually came in the Discmania Sensei mystery box. I got that and this Sensei from it. But this thing is quite overstable right now. It will hold a hyzer really well, and I don't like throwing it on anhyzer because it seems to be more flippy when I throw it on an anhyzer, but if I put it flat or on a hyzer, it'll hold and always fade back. So yeah. Next up is the Discmania Sensei. I also got this in my mystery box. It is my farthest flying throwing putter by far. It's pretty understable now. It used to be overstable, just straight flyer hyzer a little bit. Now I gotta put it on a hyzer. It'll flip up quite a bit. I can throw this thing about 320 feet if I get it on the right angle. Otherwise it'll turn over, so it's a pretty delicate disc for me. I have to get it perfect if I want it to go far and where I want. So yeah, Sensei. Next up is the Tactic. This thing, I haven't had it for long, but it is beat in quickly. It's the same thing as a zone. I use it all the time for forehands. It's not as overstable as most zones that you've seen. It won't hyzer quite as much. It'll go pretty dead straight, in fact. It won't flip though. It will never flip on me, but it won't fade quickly either. That's the Tactic. Cut all that. Next up are my mids. I have 4 mids in the bag right now. Used to have 5, but took one out to put the Sensei in. First one up is the E-Mag Truth. This one is pretty much brand new to the bag. It replaced my Prodigy MX3. This thing is quite overstable. I love throwing it flat to anhyzer and watching it fade all the way back. I can really rely on it to always go left. It will never turn over or flip up on me. But I know that this thing will beat in and become a nice turnover backhand mid-range. Yeah. And then I have 2 Latitude 64 compasses. This one I've had for a long, long time. It is probably my favorite disc. I use it all the time at the sinks for just flip up to flat to turn over, even shots. It has got quite flippy, which is why I got the second one. This one I will also hyzer flip it, but it usually won't turn all the way over. The blue one fades back a lot more than the white one. This will always flip. This one, if I throw it decently soft, it won't flip as much like the white one will. So yeah, it's more overstable, but I feel like I can really crank on this thing more than I can the white one, because I know it won't flip as much and I can rely on it more. Last mid-range in the bag is the Z Buzz. I love this disc. The only thing I don't like it for is like anhyzer shots. When I release it on anhyzer, it'll turn over on me. But when I release it on hyzer or flat, it'll just go dead straight for so long. I can get this thing to go about 350, maybe a little bit more if I really crank on it. I can always count on it to fade back. I don't usually throw it in woodsy courses because I'll use the compasses there. But this one, if I ever need it to go pretty far left and far, I will be using the Z Buzz. So next up are my fairways. First one is the Z Stalker. This one I actually got as a gift. This thing is somewhat understable. It's a very straight flyer. I love just to put it on a little bit of hyzer and it'll flip up to flat and ride straight for a long time and then fade back. It usually won't turn over on me. It will always want to hyzer back, unlike the T-Bird. The T-Bird, Champ T-Bird, flies very similar, but it's slightly more flippy and it'll occasionally turn over on me, which is why I like to use the Stalker more if I know I need it to come back left. But the Champ T-Bird, I can really put some power behind it. I throw this in the woods. I feel like I'm saying this a lot, but I play at the sinks a ton. So this is my main fairway for in the wood shots. I can put it on a decent amount of hyzer. It'll always flip. I can throw turnover shots with it. This is very trustworthy, straight flying fairway. Next up is the Prodigy FX2. This is my most overstable fairway that I have in the bag right now. This is a new addition to the bag as well. No matter what, it'll always want to fade out and go left. I've put it on like about this much anhyzer. Always fade back. Most of the times when I throw it, I'm either throwing it flat or on an anhyzer because of how overstable it is. Don't throw it too often though. I only use it when I really need to crank on a shot and rely on it to go left. So that is the FX2. My final fairway is the Star Thunderbird. This thing, I love it so much. I can throw it so far. As I watched Jeremy Collings in the bag, he said it very well. It's a fairway, but it has the distance of a distance driver. I can throw this very far and always put it out flat, and I can rely on it to turn a little bit, come back left. I don't throw forehand very often, but this is one of the two discs that I always go to for my forehand. This and my Star Destroyer are my main forehanding discs. I love to just put it out on a hyzer when I throw forehand and watch it hold it and fade even harder. So yeah, it's my Thunderbird. So first up in the distance drivers, I'm going to go to my Trespasses. I have 3 of them. They are my favorite distance driver by far. The order of stability is blue, and this is the second most understable, and then this is the most stable. So this thing I love to throw rollers with because it's gotten really understable. I used to just be able to crank on it on hyzer and watch it do the full S motion, but now gotta throw a roller with it.
Oh, the angle. Oh my goodness. Stand up more. No, come on. Oh, dang.
That could have been really good.
It's because it's so wet.
Yeah.
So these two are probably my farthest flying disc in my bag. I got this Trespass from the Belgian Turkey last year. Don't really like throwing forehands with it, but backhand, I always put it on hyzer and it'll flip quite a bit and possibly turn all the way over and not fade back. But if I give it the right amount of hyzer, it'll get the full S shot. So for my most overstable Trespass, I haven't thrown this one a ton, but when I have thrown it, I just put it on a little bit of hyzer and it'll flip up. Usually won't turn all the way over, but I can still get a lot of distance out of it with a slow flip up and then slow fade back. It doesn't fade too hard. It'll just slowly flip and slowly fade. Alright, so next up is my Innova Star Corvette. This thing has been in my bag for a long time. It is a 14 speed, so it is my fastest flying disc that I have. It is very understable. I need to put it on a lot of hyzer and it'll always flip over. This and my Trespasses are my farthest flying disc. I really don't know which one I can throw farther. At Dallas Island, I was at hole 12. It's 525 feet downhill, and I got it all the way pin high. So it's this thing I can really crush with, but I have to put on the perfect angle because of how understable it is. I can pretty much roll it, but I'll use the Trespass for that, the blue one, because that's more understable. But yeah, that's my Corvette. Alrighty. Next up is the Discmania Evolution Enigma Luxe plastic. This is my favorite plastic that I felt from Discmania. This is pretty understable. I'm pretty sure it actually has the same, no, it doesn't have the same flight numbers. It's very close to the flight numbers of the Trespass. I've been throwing this on forehands as well, and it's probably my farthest flying forehand disc. It'll flip up quite a bit, not turn over, but it'll fade back as well. Definitely my farthest flying forehand. I can also rip it backhand. It'll hyzer flip and then turn over, and it doesn't fade back as hard as the Trespasses. So it'll flip more, but not hyzer quite as much. So I'll use it for mostly turnover shots. So yeah, Enigma. Alright, 3 discs left. Next up is the Innova Star Destroyer. This is also one of my favorite discs by far. I really need to get a new one. This thing, it's not as overstable as you would assume a destroyer would be. When I put it on hyzer, it'll flip up a little bit and it won't fade back quite as much as normal destroyers.
That might have a chance.
Skip.
Oh!
So really need to get a new one because I used to love this thing. To put it out flat and it would always hyzer back. So yeah, destroyer. Next up, the Discmania X2 PD2. This is by far the most overstable disc I have in my bag right now. When I throw it, I like to throw big, high hyzer shots, almost spike hyzer shots. They'll normally come down on a spike hyzer when I throw on hyzer. I can't really forehand this thing. Do not have the power because of how overstable it is. But just big, long, wide hyzer shots is what I like to use it for. Last but not least, the Latitude 64 Blitz. This disc got discontinued a long time ago, so these are extremely hard to find. I actually found this at Shepherd Road course about 4 or 5 years ago. But it used to be very overstable for me, but now when I throw it on hyzer, it'll flip up and even turn over a little bit, but then fade back. So it has become very understable, and you cannot find this anywhere else. So, yep.
Goodness gracious. What was that sound?
Alright everyone, that was my 2021 in the bag video. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to support us, go ahead and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.